winds me up when we go on golf outings, they say, okay, Bobby, you're right.
We're on.
That's the end of the conversation. Okay. All right, we will reconvene. We have Mr. Nutter here from Sunny Hill Farms.
First of all, I want to say congratulations and thank you for your service. You're a retired firefighter now.
I am. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that was.
I'm always happy that there's people who are willing to run into a burning building while I'm running out.
So, my
thank
big
you for your service.
My big question is, how will the fire department know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was a topic of conversation. You know, how do we tell the difference between you being retired and you not being retired? But thank you. That was very kind of you. Yeah, it was a good, it was a great career. Well, I was a firefighter for 23, and I was an undercover police officer for 3 before that. So, and we can retire at 25. But as we all know, I'm not done working. My wife would never stand for that. So,
Has there ever been a time when you haven't worked 2 jobs?
Yes.
This will be the first time in 25 years that I only have 1 job, which is I find myself, and yet I still run behind. How's that? So my apologies to the board for being late. I'm Ben Nutter, and I work for Tunnel Hill Partners, which owns Sunny Farms Landfill and Fostoria, among other things. And I wanted to speak to the commissioners today. Way back when I was a commissioner, Sunny Farms tied into the county sewer line to pump leachate wastewater to Fostoria to be treated as per EPA rules and all of that. At the time, Sunny Farms paid a tap-in fee, and then we're charged a quarterly rate, for usage of that. And then, of course, we pay Fostoria. Landfills, any water that comes in contact with garbage, we're mostly construction demolition debris, but all of that has to be treated before it can be released back into the environment. So just a quick, we line our landfill. It's very scientific. I had no idea until I went out there and learned all about it. But so we collect all that water and we send it to Fostoria. Back in January of this year, there was some issues with us pumping it through no fault of our own, but there were some issues with that, and the city of Fostoria asked us not to pump anymore until we get those things figured out.
Odor.
Well, the reality is we produce a lot of what's called H2S, so sulfur. So it's very, you can, a little bit of it and you can smell it. And it can be a harmful gas, so, but that leachate produces a lot of that gas. So through it, your sewer is a forced main, so it's completely enclosed. But then it dumps into a gravity sewer system in the city of Fostoria. And that exposes it to the environment, manholes and whatever. And so as that fluid off gases, it creates an odor. So what we're doing now is we're building a treatment station at our landfill that we will treat the H2S. It's not really, remove it so that it doesn't have that problem, and then eventually we'll want to get back into pumping it, because right now we have to truck it, which is more expensive, and it's, quite frankly, it's just not efficient. It's a lot more efficient to open a valve and send it to the treatment plant. Right. So we stopped using the sewer system again. We didn't do anything wrong, but we have to change some things around. We stopped using it, and we're not sure when we're going to be able to pump it again. And I mentioned that to our sewer district manager, Mark Zimmerman, and he said, yeah, send me a letter. That seems to make sense to me, that you wouldn't get charged because you're not using it. And then apparently there was a change in direction there. So, and I don't want to, we're not arguing about past due money, whatever, we'll pay whatever you guys think we owe, and we're glad to do it. But we would like to be able to hold that in abeyance until, we start pumping again from this point forward, or whatever point, whatever quarter billing you have. So we are requesting that we don't have to pay the service charge, since we're not getting the service, until we're back in there.
Well, let me make sure I understand a couple things. You're okay with the January till now and paying that?
Well, I'm not,
Okay with
okay
it,
would
but-
be we will pay it, how about that?
All right. And Mark said to send a letter advising him when you were no longer using it. When did that letter go out?
You have the letter, I brought a copy to you, I think in August sometime you got it.
Oh, this is the letter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, August 10th, 2018, okay.
Yeah. So,
August 30th. excuse me.
August 30th it came, okay, yeah. And, again, that just outlines when we stopped and that kind of thing. The question did come up, how do we know whether or not you're pumping into it? And Stacy and I had a conversation about that. We have to, as you could imagine, we prepare many reports for the EPA. And one of those is how many gallons of leachate we produce, where it goes, and how it got there. And so this report details exactly how many gallons were pumped, trucked, and produced at Sunny Farms Landfill. And we have to give that report every year. I guess at the end of the year, we do a summary report to, listen, we're not gonna use your pipe without telling you. We're not, we wouldn't do that. That's just not something we would do.
Is there a gauge on that pipe?
There is a meter of our discharge. So that's how the city of Fostoria knows how many gallons we send them. So,
Okay.
so we, certainly it can be monitored. But again, the request is just that, while we're not using it, we would, we think it's fair that we don't have to pay for the, for the.
So our
That's a
question,
good- go ahead. That's a
Go ahead.
demand charge at this point? To have it available is all you're being charged, you're not being charged by the gallon?
We're not, yeah, for using your sewer line, the commissioner's sewer line, it's just a quarterly fee. It's not based on discharge.
Okay.
And the reality is this as well, and Mark and I have had conversations about this. It's better for your system if we're pumping into it, because that line was built for future growth, and it doesn't get a lot of flow if we're not using it, which creates other issues, as you know from all of your sewer systems. And so the goal is not only ours, but Seneca County Sewer District and the City of Fostoria to get us back into that sewer line. But we want to make sure that it's, not causing odor issues and upsetting or being a problem for people.
Do you have a timeline on that? Is it
Last
under
week-
construction? I mean, is it under construction? Is it
It is
designed?
under construction, so it's a little bit of an art as much as it is a science. So we're trying to figure out the right mixture of chemicals to treat that, to make it, because we have to be careful what we treat it with, because we don't want to do anything that would harm the, sewer system at Fostoria. So we work very closely with them to make sure everybody, and the EPA, we work with all entities to make sure it's the right way. I would say
And the local
that,
health department, right, they're involved? Or not?
I mean, we have reports to the health department and they inspect us. I don't know, that's a good question. I'm not sure if they're actually involved in the leachate aspect of it, perhaps. But they monitor, we have monitoring wells, and we take water samples of all the surrounding water and that type of thing.
I want to go back to the dollars.
Okay.
Nuts and bolts. You guys paid a tap-in fee at some point. You remember how much that was, or you know how much that was?
I mean, it was a bunch. I've seen a lot of numbers since then, but I know it was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And the quarterly rate is how much?
I think we pay $4,000.
$4,562.50 a quarter.
Yeah, thanks. I don't write the
That's
checks,
Darlene.
obviously.
And at this point, those haven't been paid since January.
we stopped paying them because we had a conversation and thought that it was more of a bookkeeping issue than anything.
So the
But
number
we'll-
to date is what?
If we include last quarter's bill, which was 9/26/2018, the current outstanding balance is $15,101.87. Of that balance, $10,539.37 has been assessed to the property taxes as required by the ORC.
Okay.
Are you gonna foreclose on a landfill?
That's up to the county.
Okay, so, all
We'll-
right, I'm just trying to
we'll
get, I'm just trying to get the dollars and cents figured out here, okay.
Okay.
So 15,101.87, and what you're asking for us now is to stop the clock, so to speak, as of this point, and say, until you start using it again.
Correct.
We're not gonna charge you. And that would be something we need to have a discussion with Mark Zimmerman about, and we will have that discussion before the week's out, I guess, is the answer to that question. Anything else for you?
Do we pay that in advance or in arrears?
Yes.
Yep.
Right now.
Coming and going, man.
Yep, that's
As
what
we
we
sit
pay.
here,
Yeah.
it would be in arrears,
Definitely.
but for whatever reason, I had it in my mind that we get billed, we're paying for the future,
That could be like-
quarter
like-
as opposed to
like
the
real
past
estate
quarter.
taxes. Yeah, that could be.
So we would ask that,
Well, we'll
you know,
check.
when this final quarter here of
Okay,
2018,
that's a fair question.
yeah, that we not pay for the final quarter, I guess, but we'll square up. I think we'll pay it through the property tax at this point, you know, the one that
Did
was
you bring a
assessed.
check or-
Yeah, what, I didn't, but, I can give you a check, just hang on to it for a while.
I'll take the check.
I'm your retirement
Oh,
boss.
you take a check? Yeah, then what are we talking about here?
So Ben, we've got a number of outstanding issues with the landfill, obviously, that we're still talking about. So, you know, it's not a great time, you know, to be in asking for favors, in my view. You know, we have the ongoing saga of the misrepresentation of the material in the hopper cars that affects solid waste district, whether or not it's construction and demolition debris. So that's, you know, that's an ongoing saga that hasn't resolved. And, you know, that's really frustrating to us, because we sit on that board, as you know. And so, you know, now we're lawyering up at Solid Waste District to, you know, try to encourage some kind of resolution there. And, you know, for those that don't know, the issue is that at some point in the past, there was a directive issued by the Ohio EPA that said if we can't identify it, it's solid waste, essentially. And so there's been some, a number of loads that have been contested as far as whether or not they're solid waste or they're construction and demolition debris. So, I mean, as you know, you know, I sat down with your management and we had this conversation, and I believed you that, you know, hey, this is all construction and demolition debris. It's coming in by rail, and it's coming from these centers. So, you know, we just need to get a new directive that more closely aligns with your business model. You know, and then, you know, fast forward a year, in between, we obviously get a lot of complaints here about the odor, the sulfur odor, the breakdown of the drywall, and, you know, people from Loudon Township and Fostoria call in here and complain, as if we could, you know, regulate you or something, which we don't. But, you know, and then lo and behold, you know, we find out that there's a management change and that y'all have been underreporting tonnage, and going back 5 years, it's 660,000 tons underreported. I mean, you know, tough time for you to come in and ask for a favor. Not happy.
Well, my response to that would be, first of all, I'm not asking for a favor. I'm asking to not be charged for something we're not using. As far as the underreporting, I'm not aware of that issue. I have no, that's not what I do for the landfill, so I'm not familiar with that. And the first time I heard those words were just now. So I can't speak intelligently about that. Our, as it is, and as it always has been, we have transfer stations on the East Coast that only take construction demolition debris. That's all they're permitted to take. That construction demolition debris is taken to those transfer stations and put on train cars and brought here. It doesn't magically change to solid waste between here and there. With the advent of recycling and pulling out all of these things, it becomes less recognizable, I would say. But I know that, and I can tell you that I have been involved with that aspect of it. We only take construction demolition debris out there, we bring it here, and we unload it. The debate becomes, if it's classified as solid waste, there's more fees that the solid waste district gets. And that's fine. And if it's solid waste, then we should pay those fees. But not only don't we take solid waste out on the East Coast, CSX won't haul solid waste in open gondola cars like we bring to Sunny Farms. That's why our debate is, and still is, that it's construction demolition debris.
But there's millions of dollars on the table with that conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that doesn't change the basis that, you know, it's construction demolition debris on the East Coast. It doesn't magically change when it's in that car.
The solid waste board has taken a different position, so.
Agreed, and, you know, and if it's a money, to me, it's less of a money issue than it is a reality issue that, you know, how is it not construction demolition debris? How is it construction demolition debris today and not tomorrow?
I think that, you know, I think that that is a good conversation for debate, because there are different opinions. I don't know.
Certainly.
The facts, but the under-reporting of weight was a real concern, because there.
And it should be.
And I mean, I don't know if it went as far as depositions, but it's certainly testimony that a previous CEO or employee or whoever ran that place has made, that they were under-reporting by the weight of the car on a number of loads. I mean,
660,000 tons.
660,000 tons.
660,000
So-
tons, 2,000
So,
pounds.
anyways,
It's a lot.
I mean, that is, the point that I'm trying to make is that what the debris is a question that we've had now for 5 or 6 years or more.
Absolutely.
The under-reporting is a new issue.
Apparently,
so that-
because I was unaware of it.
Yeah, so that's,
really
and
new.
we have employees and ex-employees saying, yeah, the guy told me to take off 5,000 tons this load, or 5 tons, or whatever it is, but for every load that comes in, the point is that it's been underreported significantly. As Shane says, 660,000 tons times 2,000 pounds. I don't know what that number is, but it's huge.
Yeah, and certainly that's, you know, if that's true, then that's wrong, and we need to remedy
But
that. And
I also believe that this is a separate issue here, so.
It is.
Let us have a conversation with the engineer who has,
I did get an email from him that obviously, since the letter wasn't received until August 30th,
right,
he thinks the money up till then should be paid, but he said, I certainly think that we could put them on a non-user status for now until their issue with the
That's fair.
city is resolved, but he preferences that it's the commissioner's decision.
okay. So his recommendation is that from this point forward, we waive it. That's good to know. So we'll consider this, and we're going to decide it next week. Charlene, do you have more that you want to add?
My only thoughts would be a pure maintenance concern. I'm not a sanitary engineer, we're just the administrator of the sewer district for the county. But is there a quarterly maintenance cost that you may want to charge that as their non-user? But like Mr. Nutter said, you need to use the line to keep the line in good condition. If you're not using it, we could have more maintenance costs.
Those are both topics I think that we'll discuss next Tuesday and make a decision on that.
And we'll certainly do whatever the board decides, and I appreciate.
If you would send an email to us or a letter, whichever you feel comfortable with, specifically asking for what it is you would like at this point that has of whatever the last quarter was, July 30th maybe?
The last bill went 9/26, it's due 10/26.
Okay, so we gotta determine whether or not they are paying forward. That's a good question. And
Are we
if-
paying Q4 or are we paying Q3 back then?
Right, so it sounds like the recommendation would be that for the last quarter, if it isn't paid forward, that we waive that, and waive it until you start using it again. That's the recommendation from the engineer, chief administrator of this process, so that'll be the point of discussion when we come in. Okay, fair enough?
Absolutely, thank you. I appreciate your time and listening to the issue.
You bet.
Congratulations on your retirement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
down to
Okay.
a job.
Any other business, Commissioner? Hearing none, we are adjourned 10:46.